questions?
Well, Coach, after I guess the day the quarterbacks had, how much of this week is for your job been get their confidence back as far as what they're doing?
Well, obviously, we obviously didn't play very well. We know that it wasn't just the quarterbacks; it was all of us. We didn't coach very well. I didn't call a very good game. But the thing we have to do is, and we have done, is put it behind us. It's one game; it can't become two games. We've emphasized that with the guys. We've emphasized that with the quarterbacks. Grayson didn't play great against Vanderbilt. And the very next week he comes out and breaks a long-standing record. So I think that shows one thing about his makeup and the way he can bounce back. And hey, you're going to have lumps. You certainly don't want to lose a game like that the way we did. But again, I think the focus has been good this week, and it's been important for us to kind of put that behind us and move on and get ready for Tennessee.
Coach Rick mentioned to us today how he felt like you guys could have had a little bit more success running right at Alabama and maybe doing what you normally do, trying to run the football. I mean, was that something you guys saw together as a staff and decided on that? And I mean, can you kind of speak to that?
Yeah, I think quite honestly, we did have some success. We wanted to test the edges. They're big, strong, physical guys. But we probably did it a few times too often, to tell you the truth. A couple times they ran through on the backside. So, like I said, I think we probably could have got to it a little bit earlier. And again, that's obviously on me, but it's something that we went in there wanting to see if we could get the ball outside a little bit, try to cut them down on the backside, and they did a good job defending that.
As far as the passing game, obviously their strategy was not to blitz much and come back in coverage. Did that affect your all's strategy in terms of what passes you wanted to throw?
No, I mean we knew we'd get some split safety. We knew we'd get some man-to-man things like that. They're not real complicated. They're going to push the pocket, try to push the pocket in the quarterback's face. They're going to play tight coverage. We just didn't throw it real well. We had a couple drops, obviously. Again, conditions are no excuse. We got to execute better. But no, I mean it's not like they surprised us with a lot of things that they did. They just executed better than we did.
What's the state of, would you say, of offensive concern going into the Tennessee game? Game?
Again, I think we're not concerned about offensively. We didn't play well against Alabama. And like I said, I think we know we need to be able to run the football. Obviously, we had some success. We're at our best when we're balanced. But again, the big thing for us is, hey, you lose to a team like Alabama that we didn't play very well. We're excited about this opportunity to go on the road and go play a good football team in their environment, and it'll be a good challenge for us. But in terms of concerns, you look back, we made the corrections quickly, and we're on to Tennessee.
When you talk about that execution, Coach Pruitt said that he felt like some of his guys, it was more emotion and not enough execution. Do you feel like you had some of the same problems with your guys on that side of the ball?
No, I think obviously it was a big game. Again, you look at the first quarter of the game, and obviously you're sitting there in a 3-3 tie. There were a couple momentum plays, obviously, that kind of swung the tide a little bit in their favor. And obviously, you come out the first play of the second half, we get, Bryce is trying to fit a ball in the backside seam, and Terry needs to come a little flatter. And so I don't think it was anything that our guys were too amped up. I just think, again, you got to give Alabama some credit. They did some good things, and we just didn't play the way that we've been playing for most of this year.
Let me ask you, obviously, neither quarterback had a very good game. Was there any thought at all to Fatone, or because he hadn't worked on the script, and where does he figure in things at this point in the season?
Again, I mean, our whole thing has been Grayson starts all the games. We did not really talk seriously about Fatone. Those other two guys that had the majority of the work. But, again, we know one thing about Fatone is he's always going to be ready. And if we call upon him, I'm certainly very confident he'll go out there and play very, very well. And we expect the other two guys, starting with Grayson, to perform better. That's their job. That's their role. And, again, I think they'll bounce back this week and do that for us.
As far as Bryce goes and giving him time, what are the parameters going forward? Because, obviously Grayson was kind of pressing when y'all put Bryce in, but the counter argument could be that, you need to stick with the guy the whole way until you. What is your thinking?
Well, obviously, it's been no secret we plan on playing Bryce every game. The only game that he didn't play was the game, obviously, that Grayson was lights out. The plan was to play him in that game. I think Grayson doesn't need to look over his shoulder because Bryce is going to play. So it's just when we decide to put him in depends on situations. We always want it to be meaningful snaps, and again, that plan doesn't really change. But in terms of those guys, I mean, again, Grayson's done it before in probably even more of a mixed bag of, hey, he's in, he's out, things like that. That really wasn't the case. But again, performance is a big part of it, and it's getting those guys just some exposure. So again, we don't really change the way we look at things, and the script hasn't changed.
Is that something that Grayson's now prepared for, that if he does have a performance that maybe is lacking, that you will go with Bryce?
Well, I think he's prepared that no matter whether he's playing well or playing bad, we're probably going to play Bryce. Again, Coach and I talked about in the South Carolina game, I think we were 3 for 3, drives with 2 touchdowns and a field goal. And so that was that was a pretty easy one. Quite honestly, it's like, hey, he's feeling great. You don't want to screw up, his timing and things like that. But again, it's not just about his performance. There's a plan for Bryce to play.
Coach Rick said he wanted to get you guys into reason you guys brought Bryce in when you did. We're kind of looking for a spark a little bit, kind of left him in there. When you put a guy in to do something like that, I mean, do you pat him on the rear and say, hey, go make a play for us at that point, and that's kind of why he comes in there slinging it around and trying to make plays like he did? Well,
I think, obviously the thing about Bryce when he goes in there is just, hey, make good decisions. The talent's there, obviously. He didn't get many plays in the first half, so we came out in the second half. And, again, he made a really good throw on the pass that got intercepted for a touchdown. But, no, I think, Bryce's big deal is whenever he gets inserted, he just wants to go out there and move the team. I mean, there's no special secret or way of moving the ball. You just got to, read your keys and read your progression and find the open guys and check it down. But, again, he's done that for the most part this season.
Where is Terry Godwin's development, and is he making the type of impact you expected?
Yeah, I mean, Terry's obviously he's a young player. They're going to make some mistakes. Again, that angle that he took, he could have been a little bit flatter. But again, I think Terry's a terrific young player. He's still growing. He's learning. I think he'll be that much better this week just because of the things he's learned in the first 5 or 6 games. And we expect him to be a terrific player.
Back to the quarterbacks, do you worry about them thinking, unless I play like historically well, I'm going to end up losing snaps to the other guy?
No, I don't think so. I think obviously we believe in competition. But like I said, Grayson doesn't need to look over his shoulders in terms of who's starting the game. Grayson needs to worry about going out there moving the team. He knows Bryce is going to come in at some point, and again, a guy like Fatone's just got to be ready. So again, we don't worry about nothing's changed. That's the thing that we believe in, is that rotation is what it is, and that's the way it looks moving forward.
What are you guys expecting this week out of Brandon Cublano? I know he practiced a little bit today, but is he, on track to maybe have a chance to come back and play this week?
I hope so. He looked pretty good today. Obviously, Brandon's real tough. I mean, he, just one of those guys. I think a game like this, it's going to be hard to keep him out.
With Grayson and his decision making, are you guys emphasizing? Coach Rick mentioned that he may need to throw in some tighter windows, maybe take some chances. Is that something you're emphasizing with him this week, given he did hold on to the ball quite a bit this past week?
Yeah, I think obviously again, there was some really good coverage at times. Obviously, there's windows. He was a little bit late on one to Malcolm, where a guy kind of flashed on him. He said he kind of lost track of him. Different things go into that. Grayson's got very good ability. He's got very good arm talent. First play of the game, he misses the ball outside by probably 3-4 inches. Malcolm can't quite bring it in, but it wasn't the easiest day to go out there and throw the football. But certainly we should have thrown and caught it better than we did. But Grayson just needs to read his keys. I mean, he can make those throws. All the throws that are out there that we're asking him to do, he can make them. Very, very talented. Just got to do it consistently.
What's kind of a scouting report on Tennessee? They've obviously given up some rushing yards. They've also played Arkansas and some other people running the ball pretty good.
Obviously, very athletic group. Heavy 8-man front. Linebackers are real fast. They like to try to run through. Again, they've started very fast. I know that. I mean, you look at the scores of their games. I mean, all of a sudden they're down. They're up 17-0 on Oklahoma, maybe 17-0 on Arkansas or whatever it was. I mean, they've started very, very fast. But very similar to last week. They're going to get up in your face and challenge us. Try to commit to stop the run. And again, the thing that they do a really good job of is pursue the ball and gang tackle.
When teams stack the box, put 8-9 guys in there, how hard is it to stay committed to running the football instead of just like airing it out every other
You know, with the guys that we got, I mean, the touchdown that Nick had was kind of an 8-man front. It was a one-back deal. The safety came down. So it's not the 8-man fronts that bother us. It's just been the score. You know, obviously we get into a tough situation with the score sometimes. Like last game, it's a little bit hard. But, you know, we know how good those backs are. We know how good we are at running the football. And, again, I think that's going to be a huge part of our success this week.
How tough was that game to call from the standpoint of, you know, you got a defense that's, you know, a lot of in and outs, and so you want to give them some time.
Sure.
I mean, that's what was the back and forth between you and Coach Pruitt about?
Oh, I mean, it was hard. I mean, I'll be honest with you, it was very hard. I've had a few games like that in my career where you sit there and you look at the call sheet and you're just like, man, I don't know about this call, I don't know about that call. I mean, you know, I'm being honest. But, you know, in terms of, you know, the thing that we didn't do, especially early on, they gave us good field position early on. I mean, when you look back at that, you know, they got the turnover, we had the short field, we missed a little fullback in the flat play. I mean, just some of those momentum plays, I think, was the big key for us. And then, but yeah, I mean, it was one of those deals where you're looking at your call sheet, you're talking to the guys, hey, what do you like? And there's sometimes it gets a little quiet on the headset. So, but again, we're all in it together. And again, we know that we need to perform better and expect that we will this week.
How big is the challenge going to be for you and Grayson dealing with all the crowd noise you're going to experience this weekend?
It will be different. Obviously, we've started preparation on early. Again, we don't expect to be able to hear much. Again, I think what you have to do is you have to prepare for it, but not worry about it. It's going to be there. We know that. So you prepare for it. You do the things that we do in practice to kind of simulate it. You really can't simulate it to the full extent of what it's going to be. But again, you prep for it, but you don't worry about it. You just know it's going to be there.
Brian, 10-6 would get you into the playoffs in the NFL for most seasons.
Right.
Can you sense kind of, you know, what one loss does in terms of a fan base or team, in terms of where you guys want to go?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, certainly in the NFL, you can lose a couple games and you're like, hey, we'll be all right. You know, we got about 14 more, whatever it is. But, again, we realize what a big game this is. And, again, our focus was to look at Alabama, make the corrections, but we didn't want to dwell on it. You know, as much as we'd like to sit there and, you know, you got to move on because this is obviously a huge game and East opponent, so going on the road. But, again, one loss is certainly different in college football than the NFL.
That Alabama game, early on, you mentioned you had a couple of fourth and short field positions. You guys elected to punt. Going forward, do you plan on being a little bit more aggressive in sort of the play calling that you have and going for it on third and fourth?
I think, you know, each situation is different. You know, you're playing a team like Alabama. I think, you know, as we talked about it, we thought field position would be important. Every situation is different. So to sit here and give you a comment of exactly how it will play out is almost impossible just because it depends on a lot of the other factors that go into it.
In terms of quarterback recruiting development, just interested in how different this is from what you were doing before. Obviously, you know, you had young quarterbacks like Sam and everything, but here there's a time limit. You know,
Sure.
But you also have to look kind of down the range in terms of who's coming down the pike and everything. How much have you been able to think about that in this 9 months or so on the job?
Obviously, the table was set pretty good when I got here. With, you know, obviously the young man that's going to be coming here. I think obviously, you know, with me, it's focused on the guys that we got. You know, I've played with Mark Sanchez, and we're fortunate enough to get to an AFC Championship game with him as a rookie. He had a few games where he threw 5 interceptions. That's going to happen with young players. But again, the big thing for us is, hey, Grayson's gotten better today. Okay, he's focused on Tennessee. Can't look back at Alabama just like he couldn't look back at Vandy. He didn't play very well against Vandy. He bounced back in South Carolina in a big way, and we expect him to do the same thing this week. But we have some talented guys. We just got to play more consistent.
Did your NFL background make you more amenable to bringing in a guy and on short, you know, a guy on July 13th gets here and thinking you could play him quicker?
I don't think so. I think obviously when we looked at that situation with Grayson, we just knew we were getting a good player that would add value to the position and add some depth. But in terms of my background, no. I think it was just, you know, we were getting a smart guy that had good ability.
Last question.
Coach, do you ever, I mean, and maybe it's happened this year, is there a position group or a guy that you're looking at on offense right now that you think we've got to get this guy, or are these guys more involved in what we're doing right now?
You know, obviously I think Malcolm's having a terrific year. We know that. You know, we'd like to continue to spread the ball around. You know, to pinpoint one guy would be hard to do. I think, you know, obviously You know, there's very talented, skilled players. A guy like Jeb would be a guy that comes to mind. You know, we certainly have things in there for Jeb each and every week, but to pinpoint one guy, probably not at this point. I think that'd be something maybe we look at, you know, after the bye and say, hey, you know, we just got to do, you know, a better job of doing this. But to pinpoint one guy, I'd say no.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming.